Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. This channel is for educational purposes, and this is a feature called Your Blind Side. Um, it's just more musings on uh, the info war in the context of um, some of the stuff that I've come across in my research. Uh, Generally, on this channel, we try to um, introduce you to ideas and concepts and discoveries that have been suppressed and that people don't know too much about. And I try to fortify the movement um, with some things that I just don't really see that's being discussed out there. And there's a lot. There's a lot of things. Um, One thing that I notice about this movement is that we don't know anything about diet, nutrition, and health. Um, People are constantly hawking supplements, talking about taking supplements, talking about, um, just kind of putting things in their body that they don't really know what they are, but they come from some person who has a PhD in something or is a medical doctor or something like that. And we accept all of these very limited conclusions as to our health. Like, aging is absolutely inevitable. And so if you are a certain age, then you have to look a certain way. And if you're too old, a certain in a number, like if you're over such and such an age, well, then you shouldn't be able to, um, be in Congress or in society because you're demented. And um, these are very limited thoughts, which result from you not knowing what the hell you're talking about having to do with diet and nutrition. Because if you did, you would know that you can slow down the aging process a ton. And then also, everybody's sitting around, not everybody, but a lot of people are sitting around waiting for the med beds, or maybe they're just not, maybe they ridicule the idea of the med beds, but nonetheless, they think that there are all of these medical technologies that are being suppressed and that are going to come to light and going to cure cancer and, end disease. Just I can cure cancer and I can end disease if you just listen to me about what your diet should be, then all cancer would be over and all disease would be over. And everybody would live a super, super long life and they would die whenever they chose, painlessly. It all has to do with diet and nutrition, but the problem is that it's not what you want to think because you have been ridiculing vegan diets, and I ridicule vegan diets as well. But the vegan diet is like a needle, it's like a haystack. The vegan diet is a haystack. It means that 99 plus percent of people who become vegans absolutely fail on the diet. They found the haystack, but they didn't find the needle in the haystack. But there is a needle in the haystack, and you can find it. And if you figure out the vegan diet, instead of just saying, "Oh, I tried it for 6 months and it didn't work," or yeah, you have to know what you're doing. You can't just say, "I'm going to be a vegan." That's not the solution. The solution is figuring out, you, you, like I said, it's the haystack. you still have to figure out how to proceed once you're even in that scope. And I mean, none of this has anything to do with killing animals or cruelty to animals or anything. It has to do with what is a human being. A human being is, you know, whatever we have in terms of our spirituality that allows us to distinguish ourselves from animals is having to do with our consciousness. But our bodies, our physical bodies, are ape bodies. We have ape bodies like monkeys. And so, and we have the same type of intestinal structure as apes, same kind of, uh, you know, um, skeletal structure as apes. And we eat the same thing as apes. And apes, many of them, like chimpanzees, are like so much stronger, and gorillas, they're so much stronger than we are that they put us to shame. You've probably seen some, 3.5 foot tall chimpanzee beat the crap out of a full grown human. Um, because they're so much stronger because they eat a diet of massive amounts of fruit. That is how you succeed on a vegan diet, is by eating massive amounts of fruit, not vegetables. Vegetables don't have enough calories to sustain you. And so then you end up eating all kinds of other stuff and you're always hungry. You have to eat fruit primarily, like 80% of your calories need to come from fruit. And then there's a few other things that you have to know. You have to strictly limit the amount of fat that you intake. No, your brain is not mostly fat, so you should eat mostly fat. That's a recipe for unhealthiness. You have to eat very, very small amounts of fat, less than 10% of your calories. And then you have to know how to combine foods. You can't eat melons for dessert. You can't eat certain foods at the same time. You shouldn't be eating oils and avocados in the same meal. You shouldn't be ever eating melon unless it's breakfast. And generally, you don't want to be eating fruit after you've eaten anything else. Fruit goes in on an empty stomach. And if that bloodstream doesn't have very much fat, it processes it perfectly. But if you have too much fat, then it leads to things like diabetes and candida. So it's just a level of ignorance out there that is fine. It would be fine if you were ignorant about it, but it's like you're proud about being ignorant about it. You just dismiss these things with whole cloth, that you don't know about, thinking that, oh, I tried it for a few weeks and it didn't work and it was stupid, and then you ridicule it. Um, no, all you have to do is just watch some of my workout videos, and recognize that I'm much older than you are, most likely, and that my body works just as well as it did when I was in my 20s. And um, I was already a good athlete then. I was a Big Ten, um, track athlete, uh, when I was in my whatever teens and 20s, and I'm still as good as I was then, um, because I figured out the right diet. And what it is massive amounts of fruit. You recover in incredibly fast, unbelievably fast. Okay, if you have any questions about that, just send me comments and questions. consultations. If you have a child that you want to be a champion endurance athlete, I can hook you up. Um, but also the other thing that related thing that I would just like to rant about is that this movement, people in this movement, leaders, commentators in this movement seem to have take a certain pride in being ignorant about things. You know, like you don't understand a certain other culture or how another a group of people, um, negotiate their life or how they understand life, and you think it's funny, that you're ignorant about this. The fact that you're ignorant about it is not the problem. There's only so much that you can learn. There's only so many different things that you can know about. But the problem is that you're proud of the fact that you're ignorant of it, you know? Just and you're arrogant about the fact that you're ignorant of it. Just say, "Oh, I don't understand this. I don't get the way they do things." Don't denigrate it because you don't understand it. So, it's just a certain it's not even anti-intellectualism. It's just like an anti uh, understanding or anti empathy or anti um, you know and I know that a lot of it is kind of pushback on PC and just the liberal, trying to shove stuff down your throat, and you're trying to fight back from that, but it's not needed, and it's a bad look. Um, I just don't think that ignorance is a virtue. You know, it's not a it's not a it's not anything to be damned about. The fact that you don't know something is fine, but just admit it. Admit that you don't know anything instead of lashing out at what you don't know about. So these are just, kind of common sense things that I think are in the blind side of this movement. And this movement is going to get blindsided by these things in the long run. Um, they might be able to get away with it for now, and they might be able to start moving into the golden age, uh, but we're not going to make any progress unless we figure some very basic things out. And, at least as far as what I'm talking about today, the most basic thing that we need to figure out is that the human being is got an ape body. Okay. Um, like, share, subscribe, comment, contribute, and you can complain, and tell me why I'm wrong. And then otherwise, have a great day, and remember to watch your blind side.